I found the letter 3 days after the funeral, tucked inside the Bible she kept on her nightstand. My mother had been dead for almost a week when I finally gathered the courage to go through her things. The envelope was plain white, sealed with my name written in her careful handwriting across the front. Just my name, nothing else. I stood there in her bedroom holding it, and I knew without opening it that this was going to change everything I thought I understood about her, about us, about the 23 years of silence that had stretched between us like an ocean neither of us knew how to cross. But I should start at the beginning, shouldn't I? Because none of this makes sense without understanding what came before, without understanding who we were to each other, who I was to her, and who she was to me before everything fell apart. I was 32 years old when my mother died. 32 years old and still carrying around the weight of being her disappointment, her shame, the son who broke her heart just by being himself. We hadn't spoken in over 2 decades. Not really spoken anyway. There were obligatory phone calls on holidays, stiff and formal, where we talked about the weather and her garden and my work, never touching on anything that mattered. There were family gatherings where we orbited each other carefully, maintaining a polite distance, smiling for the cameras, pretending everything was fine. But we both knew it wasn't fine. We both knew that something between us had broken a long time ago, and neither of us knew how to fix it. I grew up in a small town in the Midwest, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, and secrets don't stay secret for long. My mother was a devout woman, deeply religious, the kind who never missed Sunday Mass and kept a rosary in her purse. My father had died when I was 7, a heart attack that took him suddenly, and after that it was just the 2 of us. She worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, cleaning houses during the day and waitressing at night. I remember her hands always being red and raw from the cleaning chemicals. Remember the way she'd come home so tired she could barely stand, but would still make sure I'd done my homework, still make sure I said my prayers before bed. She loved me. I know she did. I never doubted that, even after everything that happened. But her love came with conditions I didn't understand when I was young. Conditions that would eventually become impossible for me to meet. I was 9 years old when I first realized I was different. I didn't have the words for it then, didn't understand what it meant, but I knew. I knew in the way my heart would beat faster when Tommy Martinez smiled at me in class. I knew in the way I'd watch the older boys play basketball after school, not because I cared about the game, but because I couldn't look away from them. I knew in the quiet moments alone in my room, when I'd think about things I was pretty sure other boys my age weren't thinking about. I kept it hidden. Even at 9, I understood instinctively that this was something I couldn't share, something dangerous. I'd heard the words the other kids used, the slurs they threw around casually on the playground. I'd seen the way people in our town talked about the man who lived alone on Maple Street, the whispers and sideways glances. I understood, in the way children understand things they can't quite articulate, that being different was not safe. So I learned to hide. I learned to laugh at the right jokes, to talk about girls the way the other boys did, to perform a version of myself that would keep me safe. And for a while it worked. I had friends. I played sports. I went to dances. I even had a girlfriend in high school, a sweet girl named Jennifer who I genuinely cared about. Even if I couldn't give her what she wanted, what she deserved, I told myself that maybe this feeling would go away, that maybe I just needed to try harder, to pray harder, to be better. My mother never suspected, or if she did, she never said anything. She was proud of me. I was a good student, respectful, involved in church youth group. I was exactly the son she wanted me to be. I remember the way she'd smile when I'd come home with good grades, the way she'd introduce me to her friends at church with such obvious pride. I was her whole world, she used to say. The only good thing that came from her marriage to my father. I left for college when I was 18, got a scholarship to a state university 3 hours away. It was the first time I'd ever lived away from home, the first time I'd ever had any real freedom. And it was there, in that new place where nobody knew me, where I didn't have to be the person everyone expected me to be, that I finally started to let myself be honest. His name was David. He was 20 years old, a junior studying engineering, with dark hair and green eyes and a smile that made my chest ache. We met in the library during finals week of my first semester. I was struggling with a calculus problem, and he offered to help. We ended up talking for 3 hours, long after we'd solved the equation. He was funny and kind and so easy to talk to, and when he asked if I wanted to get coffee sometime, I said yes without thinking, without the usual careful calculation I applied to every interaction. That first coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into long walks around campus. Long walks turned into late nights in his dorm room, talking about everything and nothing, learning each other's stories. And one night, after we'd been doing this dance for weeks, after I'd been lying to myself about what this was, what I wanted it to be, he kissed me. I kissed him back. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I could breathe. I want to be clear about something. What happened between David and me wasn't some dramatic, earth-shattering revelation. It wasn't fireworks or destiny or any of the things movies make you think it should be. It was quiet and careful and terrifying and wonderful all at once. It was holding hands in the dark of a movie theater. It was falling asleep next to someone and waking up feeling safe. It was learning that the thing I'd been so afraid of, the thing I'd spent years trying to deny, was actually the most natural thing in the world. We were together for 6 months before I told anyone. 6 months of sneaking around, of making excuses, of living 2 separate lives. David was patient with me, but I could see it wearing on him, the secrecy. He'd been out since high school, had supportive parents who loved him exactly as he was. He couldn't understand why I was so afraid, why I couldn't just tell the truth, but he didn't know my mother. He didn't know the weight of her expectations, the depth of her faith, the way she'd built her entire world around the idea of who I was supposed to be. I went home for spring break that year. I'd been planning to tell her. I'd rehearsed the words 1,000 times in my head, practiced in the mirror, written out scripts of how the conversation might go. David had encouraged me, told me that she loved me and that love would be enough. I wanted to believe him. I really did. I told her on a Sunday afternoon. We'd just come back from church, and she was in the kitchen making lunch, humming to herself as she moved around the familiar space. I remember the smell of her pot roast in the oven, remember the way the sunlight came through the window and made everything look warm and safe. I remember thinking this was the right moment, that if I didn't do it now, I never would. I said, "Mom, I need to tell you something." She turned to look at me, still smiling, and said, "What is it, honey?" And I said, "I'm gay." The smile disappeared, just vanished, like someone had flipped a switch. She stood there, frozen, the dish towel still in her hands, staring at me like I'd just told her I'd killed someone. The silence stretched out between us, thick and suffocating, and I watched as her face went through a series of expressions I'd never seen before. Shock, confusion, and then, finally, something that looked like disgust. "No," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "No, you're not." "Mom," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I am. I've known for a long time, and I needed you to know because I can't keep hiding it. I'm seeing someone. His name is David, and he's important to me, and I want you to meet him." She dropped the dish towel. Her hands were shaking. She took a step back from me like I was something dangerous, something contaminated. "This is a sin," she said. Her voice was louder now, harder. "This is a sin, and I didn't raise you to be like this. I didn't work myself to the bone, didn't sacrifice everything to have you turn out like this. I'm still me," I said. "I'm still your son. Nothing's changed except now you know the truth." But she was shaking her head, backing away from me further. "Get out," she said. I thought I'd misheard her. "What?" "Get out of my house. I can't look at you right now. I can't. I need you to leave." "Mom, please," I said, and I could hear my voice breaking. "Please, can we just talk about this?" "There's nothing to talk about," she said, and there were tears running down her face now, but her voice was steel. "You've made your choice. You've chosen this sin, this abomination, and I can't have it in my house. I can't have you here if you're going to be like this." "I'm your son," I said again, and I was crying now too. "I'm still your son." She turned away from me then, gripping the edge of the counter like it was the only thing holding her up. "When I was young," she said quietly, "there was a boy in my school. Everyone knew what he was. Everyone talked about him. He ended up alone, miserable, dying of some disease because of the life he chose. Is that what you want? Is that what you want for yourself?" "I don't believe that," I said. "I don't believe that being gay means being miserable or alone. I don't believe that God made me this way just to punish me for it." She whirled around to face me. "Don't you dare bring God into this," she said. "Don't you dare. God doesn't make mistakes. This is your choice, your sin. And I won't watch you destroy yourself. I won't be a part of it." "Then I'll go," I said. "Because what else could I say? If you want me to leave, I'll leave." She didn't stop me. She stood there in the kitchen, her back to me, as I walked out of the house I'd grown up in. I packed a bag, called a friend to pick me up, and left. I kept thinking she'd call me back, that she'd change her mind, that maternal love would win out over whatever fear or disgust or religious conviction was driving her. But she didn't. She let me go. I went back to school and tried to move on with my life. David held me while I cried and told me it would get better, that she just needed time. My friends rallied around me, created a chosen family when my real one fell apart. I threw myself into my studies, graduated with honors, got into a good graduate program. I built a life for myself, a good life, without her in it. But it never stopped hurting. Over the years, there were moments when I thought maybe we could find our way back to each other. She'd call on my birthday, stiff and formal, asking how I was doing. I'd call her on Mother's Day, and we'd have painful, surface-level conversations that never touched on anything real. When I graduated with my master's degree, she sent a card with a check inside and a note that said, "Proud of you." Nothing else. Just those 3 words. I wanted to ask her, proud of what? Proud of my degree? Proud of my accomplishments? But not proud of who I was. Not proud enough to actually show up, to be there, to acknowledge the person I'd become. But I never asked. I cashed the check and sent a thank you note, and we went back to our careful, distant dance. I met Marcus when I was 27. He was a teacher, patient, and kind, with a laugh that could light up a room. We fell in love slowly, carefully, building something real and lasting. After 2 years together, we got married. It was a small ceremony, just close friends, because I knew my mother wouldn't come. I didn't even tell her about it until months later, and when I did, there was a long silence on the other end of the phone. "I see," she finally said. "Well, I hope you'll be happy." That was it. No congratulations, no questions about Marcus, about our life together. Just that hollow, meaningless sentiment. Marcus was amazing about it all. He never pushed me to reconcile with her, never made me feel guilty about the distance between us. But I know it bothered him, the way it bothered me. He came from a big, loving family who'd accepted him without question, and he couldn't quite understand how a mother could turn her back on her child like that. I couldn't quite understand it either, if I'm honest. 5 years into our marriage, I got the call. It was my aunt, my mother's sister, telling me that my mother had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4. They were giving her maybe 6 months. "I need to see her," I told Marcus that night. "I know she hurt me. I know she's been awful, but I need to see her before it's too late." He drove me there the next day. We made the 3-hour drive in near silence, my stomach in knots the entire time. I didn't know what I was going to say to her, didn't know if she'd even want to see me, but I had to try. She was in the hospital when we arrived. She looked so small in that bed, so fragile, nothing like the strong, formidable woman I remembered. Her hair had gone completely gray, her face was drawn and pale. She was only 55 years old, but she looked ancient. She saw me come in, and for a moment something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe, or hope. But then she saw Marcus behind me, and her expression closed off. "I see you brought him," she said. Her voice was weak, but the edge was still there. "His name is Marcus," I said quietly. "And yes, he's my husband. He's part of my life." She looked away. "I didn't ask you to come," she said. "I know," I said, "but you're my mother, and you're sick, so I came anyway." We sat there in uncomfortable silence for a while. Marcus excused himself, said he'd wait in the cafeteria, giving us space. After he left, my mother looked at me again. "You look good," she said finally. "Healthy." "I am," I said. "I have a good life, Mom. A good job, a good marriage, good friends. I'm happy." She closed her eyes. "I prayed for you," she said. "All these years I prayed that you'd change, that God would fix you." "I'm not broken," I said, and I was surprised by how calm my voice was. I never was. You just couldn't see that. She didn't respond to that. We sat there for a few more minutes, and then a nurse came in to check on her, and I took that as my cue to leave. "I'll come back tomorrow," I told her. She didn't ask me to, but she didn't tell me not to either. I visited her every day for the next 2 weeks. Marcus came with me every time, waiting patiently in the cafeteria or the parking lot while I sat with her. We didn't talk about anything important. We talked about her doctors, her treatment, the food in the hospital. We talked about my work, about the weather, about the garden she'd never get to plant again. We danced around everything that mattered, just like we'd been doing for 23 years. On my last visit before we had to drive back home, I stood by her bedside and said, "I forgive you, Mom, for everything. I just want you to know that." She looked at me with eyes full of something I couldn't quite read. "Thank you," she whispered. But she didn't apologize. She didn't say she was sorry. She didn't say she'd been wrong. I drove home with Marcus, and I tried to tell myself that was enough, that forgiveness didn't require an apology, that I'd done what I needed to do. But it didn't feel like enough. It felt like an ending without any real resolution, like a door closing that had never quite been open. She died 3 months later. My aunt called to tell me she'd passed peacefully in her sleep. The funeral was small, just family and a few friends from church. I gave a eulogy that focused on her strength, her dedication, the sacrifices she'd made to raise me. I didn't mention the distance between us, the years of silence, the hurt that had never healed. It didn't seem like the right time. Marcus held my hand through the whole thing. When people came up to offer condolences, they'd look at him with confusion or disapproval, but he never let go of my hand. Not once. After the funeral, my aunt asked me to go through my mother's things, to take what I wanted before they cleared out her house. I put it off for a few days, couldn't bring myself to face it. But finally, Marcus and I drove over there together. The house looked exactly the same as I remembered. Same furniture, same pictures on the walls, same smell of her lavender potpourri. It was like walking into a time capsule, into a version of my life that had ended 2 decades ago. I started in her bedroom, going through her closet, her dresser, trying to decide what to keep and what to donate. Marcus was in the kitchen, packing up dishes, and that's when I found it. The envelope on her nightstand, tucked inside her Bible, with my name written across the front in her careful handwriting. I sat down on the edge of her bed and just stared at it for a long time. My hands were shaking as I finally opened it. Inside was a letter, 6 pages long, written in the same careful hand. I recognized the paper, the pen she always used, the way she formed her letters, and I started to read. "My dearest son," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I didn't have the courage to say these things to you while I was alive, but I couldn't find the words. I couldn't find the strength, so I'm writing them now, hoping that somehow they'll reach you. I was wrong. I've known it for a long time, longer than you might think. I was wrong about you. Wrong about what I said to you that day in the kitchen. Wrong about the way I treated you all these years. Wrong about so many things. When you told me you were gay, I was terrified. Not of you, though I know that's how it must have seemed. I was terrified of what it meant, of what people would say, of what I thought God would think of me as a mother. I was terrified that I'd failed you somehow, that I'd done something wrong in raising you, and in my fear, I hurt you in ways I can never take back. I told myself I was doing the right thing. I told myself I was protecting you, that tough love would bring you back to the right path. I told myself that my faith required me to take a stand, even if it meant losing you. But the truth is, I was just scared. Scared and stubborn, and so convinced I was right that I couldn't see what I was doing to you, to us. I watched you build a life without me. My sister would tell me things, show me pictures from your social media that you'd blocked me from seeing. I saw you graduate. I saw you get married. I saw you happy, surrounded by people who loved you, living the life I'd told you would lead to misery and loneliness. And I realized that everything I'd believed, everything I'd told you, was a lie. You weren't miserable. You weren't alone. You were thriving. You were exactly who you were always meant to be. And I'd missed it all because I was too afraid, too proud, too convinced of my own righteousness to see the truth. I wanted to reach out so many times. I wanted to call you, to apologize, to beg for your forgiveness. But I didn't know how. I didn't know how to admit I'd been so wrong about something so fundamental. I didn't know how to bridge the gap I'd created. And the longer I waited, the harder it became. When I got sick, when I knew I was dying, I thought maybe that would give me the courage. But even then, even at the end, I couldn't say the words. I saw you there in the hospital, saw the man you'd become, Saw your husband waiting patiently for you, and I knew I should tell you everything, but I was still too much of a coward. So I'm telling you now, in the only way I know how. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for the pain I caused you. I'm sorry for rejecting you when you needed me most. I'm sorry for the years we lost, for the moments I missed, for the love I withheld because I was too stubborn and scared to see what was right in front of me. You were always a good son, the best son. You were kind and smart and brave in ways I never was. And I'm sorry I couldn't see that. I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to choose between being yourself and being my son. You should never have had to make that choice. I want you to know that I'm proud of you. Not just for your accomplishments, though those are impressive. I'm proud of you for having the courage to be yourself, for building a life filled with love and authenticity, for being the person I was too afraid to let you be. I'm proud of the man you've become, even though I had no part in helping you become him. I know this letter doesn't fix anything. I know it doesn't erase the hurt or make up for the years we lost. I know it's too little, too late. But I needed you to know. I needed you to know that I was wrong, that I'm sorry, and that I love you. I always loved you, even when I was too blind and stubborn to show it. Please forgive me if you can, and please know that my failure to love you properly was never about you. It was always about me, about my fear, about my inability to see past my own narrow understanding of the world. You deserved better. You deserved a mother who celebrated you, who supported you, who loved you without conditions. I'm sorry I couldn't be that mother. Be happy, my son. Love your husband. Build your life. Don't let my mistakes cast a shadow over the joy you found. You deserve every bit of happiness this world has to offer. I love you. I'm sorry. And I'm so proud of you. Always, Mom. I read the letter 3 times before I could move. Tears were streaming down my face, blurring the words, but I kept reading, kept trying to absorb what she was saying, what she was finally admitting. Marcus found me there, sitting on her bed, holding the letter. He sat down next to me and wrapped his arms around me, and I cried into his shoulder the way I hadn't let myself cry since I was 19 years old. She was sorry, I said, my voice muffled against him. She was wrong, and she knew it, and she was sorry. I know, baby, he said softly. I know. But she couldn't tell me, I said. She had 23 years to tell me, and she couldn't do it until she was gone. Maybe that was the only way she could, he said. Maybe she needed to not be here to finally be honest. I don't know if that makes it better or worse, I said. He held me tighter. Maybe it doesn't have to be one or the other. Maybe it just is what it is. We sat there for a long time, in my mother's bedroom, surrounded by her things, holding each other. Eventually, I folded the letter carefully and put it back in the envelope. I took her Bible too, the one that had held the letter, and a photo of the 2 of us from when I was 7 years old, before my father died, before everything got complicated. That was all I took from the house. Everything else, I left for my aunt to deal with. It's been 6 months since I found that letter. 6 months of processing, of therapy, of long conversations with Marcus about what it means and how I feel about it. 6 months of carrying around this complicated mix of grief and relief and anger and love. I'm grateful for the letter. I am. I'm grateful that she finally said the words I'd needed to hear for so long. I'm grateful that she acknowledged her mistakes, that she saw me, really saw me, even if it was only at the end. I'm grateful that I have proof in her own handwriting that she loved me, that she was proud of me, that she knew she was wrong. But I'm also angry. I'm angry that it took her dying to find the courage to be honest. I'm angry about the 23 years we lost, the moments we could have shared, the relationship we could have had if she'd just been brave enough to see past her fear. I'm angry that she got to die with a clear conscience, having written this letter, while I have to live with the weight of it, with the knowledge of what could have been. And I'm sad. God, I'm so sad. Because even with the letter, even with the apology, I can't get back what we lost. I can't get back those years. I can't introduce her to Marcus properly. Can't bring her to our home for holidays. Can't call her when I need advice or just want to hear her voice. She's gone. And all I have is this letter and these complicated feelings and a lifetime of what-ifs. But here's what I've learned, what I'm still learning. Sometimes the people who love us most hurt us the deepest. Sometimes they make mistakes they can't fix. create wounds they can't heal. Sometimes they realize too late what they've done, and all we're left with is their regret and our grief. And that's okay. It's okay to be grateful for the apology and angry that it came so late. It's okay to love someone and still be hurt by them. It's okay to forgive them and still grieve what you lost. All of these feelings can exist at the same time, messy and complicated and human. My mother hurt me. She rejected me when I needed her most. She let her fear and her faith blind her to who I really was. She wasted 23 years of our relationship because she couldn't see past her own prejudices. But she also loved me. She worked herself to exhaustion to give me a good life. She was proud of me. And in the end, she knew she was wrong. She saw the truth, even if it took her dying to admit it. I keep her letter in my nightstand now, next to the photo of us from when I was 7. Sometimes I take it out and read it again. And every time I do, I feel that same complicated mix of emotions. But I also feel something else. Peace, maybe. Or acceptance. The knowledge that even though our story didn't have a happy ending, it had an honest one. My truth set me free when I was 19 years old, sitting in that kitchen, telling my mother who I really was. And her truth, the one she finally found the courage to share, set her free too. Just not in time for us to find our way back to each other. Maybe you know what this feels like. Maybe you've got your own complicated story with a parent or a family member who couldn't accept you. Maybe you're still waiting for an apology that might never come, or maybe you got one, but it didn't fix everything the way you hoped it would. If this story touched something in you, if it made you feel a little less alone, leave a like. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories like mine. And if you want, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Or just write, "My truth set me free." Because it does, even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. Even when the people we love can't walk that path with us. You're not alone. None of us are. And that's what makes it bearable.